Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Flux Developer Meeting. Before we begin, if someone could just chuck themselves down as a note taker, that would be awesome. And if you're attending this meeting, just make sure you add yourself to the attendees on the notes. I'm going to paste the notes into chat now, in case anyone needs that link. So, anyone want to be the note taker for this one? Any takers? Going once. The quite a primo position, but it's okay. We can just kind of.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Philip. Appreciate. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, Philip here in the notes, and I'll moderate. So with a note taker assigned, and got our host here. Let's get right into the topics. So the first is the repeating weekly public check-in with Michael on image update automation.
Yeah, I just come back from leave, so I probably know less about it than anyone else here. Or maybe Hida or Stefan can help me out. I think the V1 Alpha 2 was included in a release recently. Yep, a nod from Hida, which means, and I think there's a whole bunch of docs about how to migrate and how to use the new stuff, I think. So I guess the next step will be deciding when to migrate that, or not migrate, when to bump that to V1 Beta 1, or what conditions we need, aside from just having some time in the field. Yeah, I guess we could talk about that today, potentially. Just as a reminder, the V1 Alpha 2 just rearranged things without sort of adding or subtracting anything, especially, and in the API, and made some room for things we want to add, but didn't add them yet. And V1 Beta 1 is expected to be, provided that Alpha 2 works okay, V1 Beta 1 is the backward compatible version of the same, and it is probably just a case of re-stamping the version number. So migration should be trivial for that one. I think that's all there is to say on image automation.
Awesome. Thank you for that update, Michael. Next, I see Daniel's on the line here. So we've got an item for a Flux governance review.
Yeah, so as part of merging the governance PR, it was 6 months ago, we said we're going to revisit the situation just to see how well it worked for us, because back then we weren't quite sure if it's, too complicated or so I sent a mail to the mailing list and asked for feedback there. I also asked for feedback on the Slack channel. So if you have any, let me or Scott know, and we can sort of summarize the feedback and then discuss it next week. I think it's 6 o'clock or something for Scott now, so I don't expect him to be there. So the meeting next week might suit him better. Yeah, this is basically just a heads up and a request for comments.
Awesome. If anyone's already had a look at that stuff already and they've had any comments that they want to add, feel free to voice them now. Otherwise, we can just go to the next item on the agenda. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take that silence as no one has any thoughts at this current moment. So next, I've got an item here with Daniel for docs update. So if you have had a quick look at the template for the meeting notes, you'll notice that I've also put docs updates in the meeting in the template. And this is because this is going to be a weekly kind of sync thing where we kind of like I'll briefly go over like, you know, what progress that we've made and like what things we're aiming to do soon, just so everyone has like, you know, just to bring this visibility. Briefly, some of this week's improvements, we had lots of really good styling improvements. So I added some things with the descriptions, and we've got the icon actually displaying all in the tabs now. We've got prettier code blocks. Thank you, Stefan, for that PR. And we've got a more readable info block. So if you notice, there was that info block and it was really pale green and hard to read. Yeah, so there's a bunch of improvements. I couldn't really cover them all. Those are just some highlights. And yeah, so that's this week's. And by the end of this week, so one thing that came up earlier this week is we don't really have like a clear kind of thing guide on how to add a new page to the docs or how to update an existing page and what short codes might be available to someone who is updating or changing things on the docs. So we want to surface this information on the Flux docs under contributing to the docs. Yeah. So I think that covers things on my end for docs update. I don't know, Daniel, is there anything you'd like to add as well?
Yeah, so we also worked with like a proper web developer who can help us tidy up some of the landing page and other bits, because I've been trying to fix whatever I could get my hands on, but you know, CSS things just take me way too long. We're getting some help there, and yeah, let us know how the site generally works for you. We want to make this really nice and work for everyone.
So, yeah. Does anyone have any comments or things they'd like to share about the docs as well? You know, I think this might also be a really good point if anyone has like frustrations or things that to like kind of bring up or anything they'd like to share. Yeah, just.
Stefan landed a new guide today and moved a lot of things around.
Yeah, so my plan for the next month is to focus on docs a lot. I did some small rearrangements, but I think we need to do way more than that. Also, I think we should invest more time, spend more time in writing dev guides. The one that I've added today is explaining how you can programmatically access the GitOps Toolkit APIs. So instead of doing kubectl apply of some, I don't know, Git repository or hand release and so on, how you can do all of that with Go from your own app, console, controller, whatever. I think next we should proper document the Flux packages in Flux CD/package, like having a proper Go doc for it, and then document all the packages that are made for public consumption. I've seen some issues with that, like people think that if something is in some controller under package, that's meant for consumption, but that's not the case. We have to do some tricks to reuse code between our controllers, but those packages are not meant for public consumption. So I think best is to create a dedicated doc, list all the packages, link them to their Go doc, and write small snippets, code snippets on how people can use them and why they should use it. And finally, around the GitOps toolkit things, I think there is also a need for writing a documentation about what it means to write a controller that's compatible with Flux. That's a big task.
Charlotte, adaptable. Yeah, I was just typing. I managed to capture a lot of what you said there, which is with the words per minute there. I don't know. Yeah. Awesome.
Stefan, when you talk about code snippets and stuff, do you want to put them in the Golang docs, so in the in-code documentation, and then link to the Go package doc page, or do you want to maintain them in a separate Markdown file?
So I think small snippets inside our Go packages are okay, but for example, if you look at the doc I wrote, if you go to the CRUD example, let me give you the link. So if you look here, this type of snippet has no place.
Yeah, but it's a different type. You were talking about
packages. It shows how you can combine different APIs to achieve a goal. Like I want to manage a Helm release from Go, I have to deal with the source API first. I have to create a Helm release, a Helm repository, and so on, right? So I think these type of snippets where we show people how they can achieve something like I don't know, a doc task, or I don't know how to call that. That's suitable for being in here, but all the others should be in the Go files.
Okay, then we agree. Yeah. Okay. You basically want to create like a mini version of the cube builder kind of guide which exists, but then focus on
our things, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. In the guide, how you develop a controller for watching Flux sources, there I've linked to Cube Builder. I told people, hey, this is Bootstrap with Cube Builder. You should look into it first. And I've only focused on our bits of code. And I think that should be the case for everything.
Yeah, so this fits well together with the work I'm currently doing to standardize some of the condition stuff we're doing.
Right.
So that it's also aligned across controllers, and our controllers basically will end up looking the same. Okay, great.
I also have an announcement. I don't know, it's my part, or Alison, do you have a different agenda?
It's open floor now. There's nothing left on the agenda. So floor's yours.
Right. So a couple of months ago, the customized team released customized v4, which comes with many breaking changes and features were dropped. For example, you can no longer define resources from buckets, from archives, and so on. And has also dropped all the dependencies and the packages that were coming from Kubernetes itself. So customized v4 right now doesn't uses KYAML, which is their own implementation of how to parse, edit, modify whatever YAMLs, which is different from the Kubernetes YAML package. After they did that, the kubectl now contains customized v4. So we have delayed as long as possible the upgrade, but since the latest versions of Customize are fixed some bugs that were in V3, and they've added new features. Like, for example, right now in Customize V4, you can change the API version of an object. You can patch that. That's useful for, I don't know, upgrades of, I don't know, from apps v1 beta 2 to apps v1 or whatever. Maybe you have that kind of things and you don't want to add, you cannot edit the original file, so you want to patch the API versions and other stuff, right? So we definitely need to get all of that into Flux. We cannot stay forever on Customize v3. So what I did yesterday, I opened the pull request on the Customize controller. Here is the pull request that upgrades the controller to Customize v4. The upgrade is not straightforward. Some bugs have been fixed, others are there. For example, if we merge that and we release it tomorrow, every single Flux user that has a Nginx ingress Helm release in their repos, if you have that, it will fail.
Mm.
Why? Because bugs. Also, if you have comments in your YAMLs, non-ASCII characters like Chinese or any kind of non-ASCII language, Customize controller will panic.
Oh.
That means nothing will work anymore. After you bootstrap, if you have a Chinese comment, everything will crash. We discovered that in image automation controller a couple of weeks ago. So I've documented the known bugs. I've wrote a workaround for another customized panic where I've added a mutex. That means all the customization reconciliations are no longer run in parallel. Some part of the code will block. That has severe performance penalty for those that have thousands of customizations. There's nothing we can do about it. That's how Customize works. It tries to load the OpenAPI map. It does some concurrent read-write actions. So yeah, everything fails. So I have published a preview release on our container registry on GitHub. And I've also added a snippet on how people can try it out and upgrade their clusters. We cannot delay that for a longer time. Next week I'm on vacation, but after that I'm for merging this and go with it as it is.
There is another technical limitation you haven't mentioned yet, Stefan, and that's about the dependency cycle that we are currently stuck on. I can explain it because I figured it out yesterday. What we do in a lot of our controllers is that we use kstatus, and kstatus is a package within, I think, Kubeflow CLI runtime, one of the Kubernetes core packages. And that package still depends on Customize v2, which means that you have to settle on a KYAML version, a customized API version, and a customized version that all match, which means that at present we are stuck on the versions that are in place in that PR, and we can't upgrade any further till either the KYAML and customized API packages have been made compatible again with the v2, which gets pulled in by the CLI, or the customized v2 is dropped from the CLI dependencies, or we figure out a way to use kstatus without depending on the whole CLI runtime package, but I don't think that's doable. Which is a limitation which we have to figure a way forward for, because otherwise we are stuck on, well, fixes basically. We can't upgrade.
So let's assume the customized teams figures out the panics and they solve either of those. We cannot pull in the new KYAML version that comes with that fix because Kubernetes didn't upgrade it. So the only way to ship upstream patches for KYAML in Flux, first we need to wait for Kubernetes itself to upgrade, and only then we can upgrade, which is like a really sad situation. I have really doubts about adopting kstatus. It creates this circular dependency. But yeah, that's life. We made some decisions based on what was there. Back then, kstatus was in customized repo, not in Kubernetes. It moved meanwhile, so yeah.
Hello. I got a little question. I did put it in the I did put it in the chat before, but with these changes that could potentially impact a lot of users, how do we get this message out so that everyone's gonna know if you update, this is gonna happen, and we know it's gonna happen if that's the case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We're getting something confused here. I wrote some suggestions of we can write a blog post and then signal boost that on the Twitter and Slack. Just make sure we have like a consistent lead up messaging to that release. Yeah.
We have advertised the customized before breaking changes. The issue I've created in Flux 2 is quite old. A lot of people have seen that. It was also posted on Twitter and so on. Now we have to redo all of that, repost everything. In the Flux blog post that we do every month, we have to advertise all of that, like post all the known bugs. Hey, this will panic, this will crash, this has performance penalty and so on. It's out of our hands. It's not like we can rewrite, customize, or fork it. So we go with what it is. But yeah, I agree. We have to signal this to all our users. So they'll probably freeze to an older version of customized controller. I don't know. Besides that, there is nothing else they can do.
Speaking another just tangential thing, like I'm just gonna look at the docs right now just to double check on myself in case I get something confused here. But like, if someone decides to freeze, and how do they get will there be any changes between the new version customized docs and the old version docs? Sorry. Yeah. Like, is there anything we need to like? Do we need to worry about switching versions and docs or anything?
So nothing changed in our custom resource definition.
Okay.
We just changed the underlying package that fixes some issues and brings way more issues.
Okay.
It impacts users, but it's not a change to our APIs in any way.
It doesn't change how they interact with it. It just changes what happens on the other end when they do interact with it. Okay. This is coming together. So, does anyone, I think, have anything to add on that, or otherwise open floor if anyone has something to discuss or add to the meeting?
Oh, this week we are going to release Flux 1.14, and it will contain 2 new features. One is Azure Event Hub support for notification controller. That means all the Flux events will end up in Azure Event Hub. So from there, you can do stuff with functions or whatever you need. It's a way to export all the events to a cloud provider. That's one thing. And the other one, Philip has finished the work on source composition, where a Git repository can include other Git repositories as an alternative to Git submodules. And we are going to release that. We also have documentation around it, and we explain, why it's better than the submodules from our perspective, but it's just an option. It's not a requirement. You can still use submodules if you want to. It's just another way of composing manifests from different sources and customize them.
Okay. Anyone got any questions? Anything to add? No more open floor items. I guess we can call that a wrap for this week. Sounds good. Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Alison.
Bye.
Thanks, Philip.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.